Hey, welcome back. On tomorrow's show, John Legend is here. He's going to perform for us.
I love that guy.
Yeah, me too.
And from the series Riverdale, Molly Ringwald.
Oh, also exciting.
Pretty in Pink.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, from Olympic gold medalist to mega reality star, she bravely opened up to the world about years of struggling with gender identity and her decision to transition. She's letting us all into it now in her reality as a woman in her memoir, The Secrets of My Life. It's a really fascinating book. Please welcome Caitlyn Jenner.
Good to see you. Yes, I want to win the best entrance contest at the end of the year.
You will win it, for sure.
Really? You think so?
Well, you're at an unfair...
Thank you for the very nice, warm welcome.
You're at an unfair advantage.
Yes.
You got the rest
legs,
of my
legs.
Yes, I turned to John.
Where did they go?
I know.
No. Actually,
they go all the way to the floor, those legs.
I'm actually very excited to be here.
Oh.
Why?
Why?
Today.
Yes.
The 25th of April. Okay?
Yes.
I've been waiting for this day for my entire life. Why?
Why?
Because of today, my book comes out, and I don't have a secret left in my life.
Oh, wow. Hey. That's amazing.
It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
This whole experience has been just a wonderful experience. And the book is about a lifelong struggle. Everybody has their stuff. Everybody has things that they have to deal with in life. And this is what I've dealt with my entire life, is my identity about who I am as a person. And to be able to struggle through that with family and all the other things and finally get to the point at the other end when my family's raised, everybody's doing great. Kind of the last thing left on it is for me to find some happiness.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And
You're a role model. You're a role model.
And to be able to share that journey with people and tell all the things, behind-the-scenes things that nobody ever knew.
Well,
Not my family and kids didn't even know.
It's a very important book, I think, for so many people who are struggling with gender identity, because here you were, your entire life, a public figure, your entire life, and yet you were hiding who you really were.
Yeah.
So my curiosity is, and it seems to me from the book's perspective, from your perspective, that you really deeply cared about what people thought of you. And you worried about it all. Well, but I'm saying, to put yourself out there so publicly, do you still care, is what I'm saying? Do you still have that fear?
I think everybody wants to be liked.
Liked, right.
Okay,
right.
That's, who does?
That's human nature.
Yeah, who does? You don't want to be hated.
No, right.
Okay, so do I have that? The reception I have gotten by people has been so different than the normal trans person, and I realize that, okay? We have tremendous problems in our community. The murder rate is through the roof.
Right,
in fact,
right, true that.
just on the 21st of April, just 4 days ago, there was another murder. It's the 9th one so far this year of a trans woman. 8 out of the 9 were trans women of color, and the other one was a Native American. And it's happening all the time. We have a terrible suicide rate. We've got all these things. But my experience certainly has been very different, very positive. And so, yeah, I've been very pleased because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right, right.
I had no choice but to do it publicly.
Right.
Because I was getting destroyed by the tabloids. I'd had 4 or 5 paparazzis following me everywhere
you went.
Everywhere I went. It was just horrible. And then, I'm on the cover of magazines, and they say, wants to be a woman, and I'm in, on some other woman's body, and it was just horrible until Diane Sawyer 2 years ago. And that changed everything, because now they couldn't do those things.
But did you, how much soul searching did it take? How much preparing everybody did it take?
Time of soul searching. It's all in the book. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yes, no.
Which chapter?
Yes. You come up with every excuse, like why you can't do this.
Right.
I went through the 80s when I struggled so hard. I mean, I stayed in my house for 6 years.
Right.
I never really even came out. It was really, really tough times. I thought I was going to transition before I'm 40.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be an old lady.
Right.
You know, and I got to 39 and I just couldn't go any further. You know,
Right.
I had been on hormones for 4.5 years. I had, you know, I went through electrolysis. I was doing all these things, kind of preparing myself for this. And I just got there and couldn't do it. Just couldn't go any further. It wasn't time.
It wasn't
Right.
time.
It just wasn't time. Time in society, time
Right.
for me.
I did not
I had
realize
kids
that
to raise. I had all those types of things.
Until I
And then, you know, unfortunately, I found Chris, and she really got me out of my hole. I mean, she was very, very good. By the
said
way,
she was-
John, I have to compliment you on, what is it?
Yeah, two on food. Teach
Yes, yes, you did good at the end, baby. Yeah, that last couple of shots, I watched it a bunch of times, and I said, hey, you came through on that, looking
I look good.
How was the experience?
Being a man to being a woman, I'd rather be a POW. It was really difficult.
Yeah.
It was hard.
It
I mean,
is.
the pinching bra,
Yeah.
the gender bender thing,
Yeah, well.
the shoes,
Yeah.
the wig, the plucking of the eye. I feel like I was tortured in Guantanamo.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
rough.
No, it was rough.
It's a lot of work.
That's how we live.
You have to read the book and see what I went through to get here. Yeah, this.
I mean, to be beautiful, it was like hours and hours. Well, for me, I mean, it was
right.
a lot longer process.
How did you feel at the end?
I mean, I was proud of my work.
Oh,
was
yeah,
really
I thought
proud.
you did a great job. Were you look in the mirror and you thought,
Oh, no, I was hot. I would do me.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Like I just stayed in the trailer with myself a little longer.
I thought the same thing.
We have to take a commercial break, but we're going to talk about more of the book when we return. More with Caitlyn Jenner. Stick around. We're back with Caitlyn Jenner, who's written a fascinating book, The Secrets of My Life.
The secret, and I have to tell one more secret. You know what? I have been around from, you know, for 40 years.
Yeah.
From the old Regis and, you know, Kathy Lee,
yes,
and Kathy Lee's the godmother to some of my children,
Yes.
and all this kind of stuff. I've watched your show for years. I've seen you go through all this stuff,
Yeah.
and I've never been asked to co-host.
Oh, my.
I've never been asked.
Sit here.
Done.
I've never been asked. I keep thinking, I don't think Gelman likes me.
You know what? It's
You know
true.
what?
Gelman is a terrible person.
Yes, thank you. And
Well,
I
you
think-
either, but
so
I'm
I'm thinking, when am I going to get the phone call? Now I thought, all of a sudden, now the story gets a lot more interesting. Oh my God, girl, would we have a good time?
We would have the best time.
Yeah,
We would have,
had
guarantee
so
you
much
fun.
to talk about.
Yes.
But yeah,
Listen,
and
the
I've
right
never been so anyway.
The right bottle of red wine in Gelman's hand goes a long way.
Long way, does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I'm saying.
We'll
That's
have to
all I'm
work
saying.
that out.
He can be bought. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, that's yeah.
Pinot Noir, a nice Pinot Noir, did it for me.
So we were just, before we went to
Yes.
commercial break, we were talking about Chris and how she really like snapped everything into place for you in a lot of ways.
Yes, I went through a really, really difficult time in the 80s. Well, I've gone through a difficult time my whole life.
Right.
But I got to the point, I thought I would transition before I was 40, and that would have been in 1990. And I got to 39 after 6 years of isolating myself from the world, and I just couldn't go any further. And I think of it, it just wasn't time. And I thought, maybe I should get back into life. Maybe I should get back. And honestly, about 6 months later, I met Chris. I was honest with her about, I'm sure I downplayed it because I was trying to come back,
Right.
about who I was and my issues. And we said, hey, you know, we can work it out. And I was totally committed to working it out, you know, and I loved her. She's a great woman, and she turned my life around.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, she really did. She got me back into work. She got me back working out. She, you know, and did a lot of really, really good things. And we wound up having wonderful children, and I picked up 4 more stepkids and my family. And so really, really, she changed my life around.
Yeah.
And so from that stone, it was very good. But, you know, all these years, you still don't, you don't take like 2 aspirin, get plenty of sleep, and then it's over with.
Right.
You know, you're going to be fine the next day. You know, I'm going to ask you an interesting question, just so you understand a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe the audience, especially all the women in the audience. I'm going to ask you a simple little question. I want you to think about it.
Okay.
Okay? When did you know you were a girl? Just think about that. When did you know you were a girl?
I mean, it never even occurred to me. It never occurred to me that I wasn't.
See, for the first time, you're thinking like a trans person.
Really?
Because that's what goes through your head every day.
Right.
It's your identity. You're not talking about sexuality. You're not talking about nothing. You're talking about who you are and who's in your soul.
Right.
And so for that little split second, you thought, wait a second, I never thought of, when did I know I was a girl? Well, for a trans person, male to female, female to male, that is in their head.
Right.
And it goes through your head 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year. And it's just, how are you going to deal with your soul and who you are as a person?
I was thinking about that when before, about if I were me,
Yes.
right? And my dad put the football gear on me,
Right.
and sent me out there, and I'm thinking, I don't want to do this.
Right.
I don't want to. This is not who I am. This is
Right.
not. I don't. And what that must feel like to be in a body that you know is.
And I use the word, I had diversions in life. First of all, I grew up in the 50s and the 60s
Right.
as a very young age. There wasn't even a word for it.
Right.
Okay, they didn't even, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why. When I talk about in the book, sneaking into my mom's closet or my sister's closet, all these types of things I did as a young person, walking around when I was very young, 9, 10 years old, sneaking out of the apartment and just walking around. And I didn't have a wig, so I put a scarf over my head so it didn't look like I had short hair, and I did all these things. And I struggled with, but I found sports. And I had so many things in my life that this was a great diversion to prove my masculinity,
Right.
who I am. I'd take a guy, good student, good reader, this, that, didn't have any gender issues, and clean as clock. Yeah, hey, I feel pretty good about this,
Right, right.
Never knowing where I would take it. But I have to say, I look back on it now, and a lot of the reasons why I was so obsessed with winning the games and proving myself, my masculinity, was because of my issues of gender. I was also a dyslexic kid, so I had suffered from low self-esteem.
Yeah.
All of these things come into play. I was more determined than the next guy. I was going to outwork the next person.
Yeah.
And I was going to outtrain the next person. And I was going to be smarter than them. And I didn't know how far I would go. I took it all the way to be the best in the world at what I did. But then when it was all over with, and I talk about it in the book, I stood in front of the mirror the next morning. Didn't have a stitch of clothes on. I put the gold medal around my neck, looked in the mirror, and I said, oh, my God, now what do I do? So my life has been what I call, and I must clarify, my life has been a bunch of diversions from myself, my family. And unfortunately, I said that my family was a diversion. And they were not a diversion, okay? My kids, I love. They're the best thing in the world. So I got 10 of them. I just had my 11th grandchild. But yes, that's exactly right.
Right.
And, but it was a diversion from myself.
Gotcha.
Because then I just got into fatherhood. For 23 years, I raised kids with Chris and I, raised wonderful children who
Did a
were
great
just
job.
phenomenal parts of society. They're just great kids. And so that's what I spent all my time doing, and I didn't have to think about myself. I thought about them.
Yourself. It's an incredible
And then there
journey.
I was.
Yeah.
Yep.
65 years old, 63 years old, whatever it was, when we moved out.
look,
I'm
you're
back
over
in
50.
Malibu, where I had sat in a house for 6 years not knowing what to do, thinking, am I going to sit out here and rot for the rest of my life? What am I going to do with my life?
Well, we're going to find out a little bit more when we come back. More with Caitlyn. We're back with Caitlyn Jenner, of course, our book, The Secrets of My Success. So let's talk about your first public outing as yourself, the ESPY Awards.
That was.
From what I recall.
Yes, it was a big moment.
Yeah.
It was a very important moment, not just for me, but also for our society, what I had to say, and my
For
community.
society at large. I mean, it's
Yeah,
big
society at
masculine.
large. So I worked very hard on the script. I put it on teleprompter, which I usually never work off of the teleprompter. I do things better if I just do it off the cuff, but I knew I had to get it right.
Yeah.
So I had a practice teleprompter, and I practiced it also. I make sure I get it right. It was scary as heck. I'm going out in front of my peers with my first public appearance. I'm in a long dress, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to trip going up those stairs, And I told Abby Wambach beforehand, who I'd met before, I says, you make sure I get up those stairs and don't trip, because if I do, that will be the moment, okay? If I go down on, because I got a long dress going upstairs. And I'm not quite used to it like most girls are, So anyway, I get up there, I give the speech. I could not look at the audience. I couldn't look and see LeBron James or Brett Favre in the front seat thinking, what's going through their head? What the heck are they seeing there, you know? I'm standing up there in a perfectly executed Donatella Versace gown, you know? They got to be thinking, what the heck is this, you know? And so got off, but it was very well received.
Well,
and
I think
that was the most important thing. You
They
know,
must have been thinking how brave you are.
I don't know if it's bravery or survival. It's just something I had to do, and
it's like a calling.
Yeah, I just had to do. It was a lot of conversations with my family, with my pastor. I'm a person of faith, and I just got to the point, and the last one I had to get over is I had to have my conversation with God, and I got to the point where I said, you know what? Maybe this is the reason God put me on this earth. At this point in time, and I've raised my children to live your life authentically. Most important, you can't do it if you know it's the right thing.
Yeah.
But in God's eyes, go out into the world and see if you can bring this issue forward, see if you can make a difference. Because this is not an issue that has borders. This is all over the world. To be honest with you, if I was in Africa right now, they'd chop my head off because I'm trans. Yeah, there's just big issues around the world. And so, you know, that's kind of my calling. So I've been very open and vocal and worked very hard.
We appreciate you sharing your story with us. The book is The Secrets of My Life. It's available today. Make sure you pick up Caitlyn Jenner's